Next up, we're hitting a more complicated section, changes to the military. A little bit touchy here with a lot of veterans watching, but I've got opinions, and if you're going to vote for me, you'd want to know how I feel about it. I feel like the US military needs a radical budget reformation. Like, we spend more on our defense than the other top 10 countries combined. Like, if you look at the top 10 countries in the world that have defense budgets, we spend more than the other 9 on the list. It's insane how much we spend. Like, you really don't understand how much we spend. And I feel like we need to do something to reduce that. That's not cutting fund. I don't mean like we're just taking jobs from veterans, you know, we're going to have crappy tanks. But I also know there's a lot of waste in the military. We need to shift away from wasting. The amount of things that we buy that aren't used, that are spent on base, that are expense, that are spent on contractors and stuff like that's really, really crazy. There needs to be stronger accountability for how we actually spend our assets. This might actually be impossible. This might be a pie in the sky kind of thing, but that's a serious issue. We need to be more responsible with our military spending, and I feel that more of it needs to be spent on long-term care of our veterans. I feel that we need an expansion of the GI Bill and college funds in general, because the idea a lot of people have is, you know, I'm going to go serve in the Army and then my college is going to be free. Well, guess what? That's not true. You only get so much money, and in most cases of the people that I know that have done this, it wasn't enough to pay for college. It just helps. So you go to the middle of nowhere in the Middle East and get blown up and fight and die and bleed. With it's a terrible big mess. You come back and here's like a third of your college. Have fun. No, that's bullshit. We need more money than that. That's a big deal. The Veterans Association, the VA hospitals need a huge overhaul. VA hospitals nationwide they don't have a good reputation. All of my Army buddies, they don't like them. I didn't do military service. I just have friends that have done that. They don't like them. No matter what state, they don't like them. The lines are incredibly long. The surgery rates are much higher failure rates than normal, much higher infection rates. A lot of veterans don't like to go there. This is a problem because these are people that we should be taking care of, that should, if anything, have better care than the general public because they damn well earned it, but they're getting worse. We need a complete overhaul there, so that's really bad. And we need to put more research into PTSD reduction / avoidance. I think it's something that once you get, it's kind of hard to like get rid of, if ever, but there needs to be more research put into how to avoid having our soldiers contract this mental thing, if that's even possible, because they come back and it's very difficult for them to get jobs and reintegrate in society, and it's bad for all of us, not only for them. Next up, I would like to change the way our military acts to an extent, and that's actually something I can do as a president. That's something that we have with our executive power. First thing I would love to do as super president of this country is to form a new branch of the military. Their name is something I've struggled with. I don't have a better name yet. I'm just going to call them the Fixers for now. This is actually a non-combat branch of the military, and you're like, non-combat branch military? Drifter, have you lost your mind? What are you talking about here? We need a group of people that can fix things, that can rebuild things. We've got the ability to come in and trash pretty much anybody on the planet. You want to take over Angola? Man, it's done tomorrow. Is France being bad? No more France. Do we need war with Norway? Is Thailand acting up? We can wipe them out relatively quickly, but can we rebuild them? No. Can we help their civilian populations? No. So we get insurgencies like Iraq, Afghanistan. It's a huge mess. There's nothing left. We need a team of people that can come in, that can rebuild the roads, that can get the electricity, the running water, the cities, the buildings, the governance, that can just rebuild an entire city from scratch, from ground up, and fast as hell too. High quality stuff. Like, have you seen how fast they build stuff in China? How fast they build new highways and new cities with complete infrastructures? Maybe we just need to outsource to China and get like a team of Chinese people to run through the Middle East and rebuild all the stuff that we blew up really, really quickly. And what this does is it gives the people something to hold on to, something to enjoy, instead of us kicking the shit out of them and leaving them with nothing. They end up hating us. Now it's easier to rebuild. And I'm actually going somewhere here. Trust me on this one. But teaching our veterans these kind of skills, the ability to rebuild something, it'll also help them get jobs and be useful for society when they get out of the military. Some people go in, they learn great skills and trades, they move through life, they come out and they do great. Some people go in and they learn how to shoot people and they don't learn a damn thing else, and they come out and have a hard time getting jobs, and that's just kind of how it is. So if you are in this branch, it's better for you. And also, we don't have to worry about hearts and minds. We have our soldiers on the ground in the Navy, the Air Force, always worried about this hearts and minds. What do people think about you? Blah, blah, blah. And we don't need hearts and minds. We don't need the people that are doing combat worrying about hearts and minds. We need those people worrying about boots and asses, which they already do pretty well. And then the people that come in after them, the fixers that'll come in and fix everything, that'll solve it all, that'll, repair your country and whatever. That's where the hearts and minds comes in. Lastly, I'd really like to reduce the amount of weapons of mass destruction we have in the U.S. and global treaties in general. As of right now in the world, we've got enough nuclear weapons to destroy, I don't know, the world like 3, 4, 5, 10 times over. And that's just the nuclear weapons. That's not the diseases. That's not the chemical weapons. That's not the stuff we have. And the fact that it exists, and it exists in such a quantity that we could kill ourselves so many times over, is a scary thought to me. Not because me now, because, Super President Drifter, I would never do that. And I would hope that the people around me would also never do that. But I don't know what the other irresponsible presidents of the future might do. I don't know what, people that come around 100 years after me might be crazy and find this stockpile and just decide to fire them all off. I would rather they didn't exist in the first place, and I think that most of you would agree with me on that. I'd also like to repair all of our aging infrastructure. In the United States, our roads, our bridges, our highways, it's all old. It's all falling apart. It's got really bad ratings from we have a Governmental Society of Engineers, the name of which is escaping me. Please don't judge me for this one. But I know that it's very poor. It's all going to fall apart soon. And I think that if we had these fixers from the Army, these people that are trained to rebuild infrastructure, that the best possible way to train them would be having them working on our infrastructure here in the United States to get ready for whatever they're doing all over the world. And it's a win-win. We get new roads and they get the experience they need. Moving away from controversial military stuff, I would like to find a way to guarantee net neutrality. The internet, the communication that it provides, is key to the future of our economy. Digital developments, work from home, international business and intercontinental trade is all moving through the internet now. It's all e-based. And if we have too much corporate control or too much government control of the internet, it's going to crumble. It's going to fall apart. We need a completely free and open internet that won't be co-opted to somebody else's benefit. This is very essential to our economy, but it's also essential to our freedom both in the US and to the, we'll say, westernized free world. The internet is the best place in the world to share your ideas, to share your political beliefs, to change people's minds, to engage in conversation. That's literally what this video is doing right now politically. It's engaging you in a conversation with me. If we don't have freedom of internet, things like that disappear and our society is worse off for it. So the internet needs to be protected. Moving on, it would be fun to change governance because our governance is pretty screwed up right now. One of the core problems we have is incumbency. People get elected to Congress and Senate and they stay there forever because their state is consistently Republican or Democrat, or just because people are unfamiliar with it, but they stay there for ages and ages and ages and ages. It allows them to be corrupt, and it allows them to become kind of cronies and cronyism and corrupt and that sort of stuff. I believe that senators should be limited to 2 terms. Senatorial terms in the United States are 6 years, if I'm remembering my schoolhouse rock correctly here. So you could still be a senator for 12 years. That's over a decade. That's a long time in the Senate to get a lot of good work done, and I feel that that would give you plenty of time to be accomplished, to get known, to advance your political career, but it would also keep you away from being there forever, for being a too old senator, to have your ideas too fuzzled, or to get too embedded and too corrupt. Similar kind of thing for congressmen, a 12-year limit, which is 6 terms. The exact same idea applies to Congress, and here's a fun one. I would actually love that when you go to the House to vote, to Capitol Hill, when you're in a committee hearing, when you're giving a press conference, if you're one of these people, you have to wear a suit, just like NASCAR, with all of your donors stitched on it, and in proportion to how much they donated too. So when you're talking about things, especially if you're on like the environmental committee and you received, like $1 million or billions of dollars from an oil, my numbers here are screwed up. Like if you just got, like $100 million from Shell, you have this giant Shell logo right across the front of your shirt, and you have to sit there and explain to people how, fossil fuels are not bad for the environment, etc., so that everybody can see your bias clearly and plainly, and all of our senators and congressmen will have little NASCAR jerseys. I think that would be really fun. I feel like voting day is really screwed up. Voting is not a national holiday in the United States. There are people that can't vote because they're too busy working. This is disenfranchisement of the working class, and I feel that there should be 2 days of voting. Not just 1, but 2, so that if something gets screwed up on the first day, you can do it the second day, and that both of these days should be national holidays, so that anybody that wants to vote, this is like a non-optional national holiday where things just aren't running, period, like, so that every single citizen has the chance to vote, so that you're not tied down to anything. I mean, if you're alive and conscious, you can vote and you can do it. And I feel like this should have been done forever ago, but they probably didn't want too many working class people voting to begin with. So 2 voting days, national holiday, and I'd probably remove the electoral college system from our presidential elections. It's ultimately confusing. We end up having all or nothing states. People feel that their votes are worthless. We'll just go straight popular vote for presidential elections. And I know that the electoral college always follows the popular vote, but it misrepresents how close these elections really are. And there are instances where you can win the popular vote but still lose the election. Moving on to some crazier ideas, let's talk about the drug war. The war on drugs is a colossal failure. The war on drugs is really more like the war on black people, the war on poor people, and the war on hippies. It just screws those 3 groups over really, really bad, and it was actually especially bad on black people. You have for-profit prisons. There was this whole thing like the CIA was astroturfing with crack cocaine, that it was invented just to destroy the black community. And the war on drugs disproportionately, I mean, it disproportionately punishes people. Man, you try pot, well, you can't work ever. Sorry. It's just too bad. Man, this guy, like 30 years ago, smoked a joint, went to jail, fucking worthless for life. That's stupid. We need to end that. I would legalize marijuana, and I would legalize non-addictive drugs, which off the top of my head, not as a drug expert, not as a hippie or drug user, just spitballing here in this very long commentary, marijuana, LSD, DMT, and I think shrooms are all non-addictive to an extent. Very minor. These aren't the hard drugs. These aren't the life enders. These can just be legal. There are countries that have done this, that we don't have to worry about this. Really hard drugs, amphetamines, heroin, crack cocaine, this kind of stuff, this should still remain illegal because this is literally poison for your body and brain. Illegal to sell and to own. However, the punishments, the sentencing for owning isn't life in prison. It's like if you get caught owning a drug, your life is probably already miserable if you're doing heroin to get by on your day-to-day. You shouldn't be punished more for that. The punishment should be rehab. The punishment should be rehabilitation. The punishment should be mandatory taking I think amphetamines have a certain medicine that can help you fight the addiction. The punishment is forced rehabilitation, reintegration into society, and that's good for everyone. And I think that makes a lot more sense than just locking people away forever. Nearing the very end here, the United States is the only westernized country that doesn't have mandatory vacations. And I mean literally the only country in the entire first world that doesn't have mandatory vacations. Every single country, everybody else except for us gets vacations. We get none. It's a luxury if your job gives them to you. We need some of that. It's to make your life better. It's to improve your enjoyment. It'll actually improve productivity because people are happier. It's good for all of us. I'll start with a simple mandatory 1-week vacation for full-time and for part-time jobs if you've had them for over 6 months or whatever. We need some vacations. We need some downtime. We work too damn hard. We drive ourselves crazy. So let's have a mandatory one week vacation. A lot of countries have like 3 weeks or a month or something like that. Let's just do a week. We'll start with that. It'll make everybody happier. And we need some paternity leave for mothers. We have none of that in the United States as far as I'm aware. So we're going to start with a 3-month paternity leave, job protection for mothers. If you have a baby, you shouldn't lose your job. You should be able to raise your child reasonably and then return to work. And I feel that would bring us up to standard with the rest of the first world instead of back in the Stone Ages. Oh, and one last thing. Police should wear cameras. The amount of police shootings, beatings, kind of crazy stuff that I hear has gone up for way too long. Police should be required to wear little lapel cameras that record their voice and their actions. My nose itches pretty much constantly, and I feel that would turn our police force into something. Actually, they've actually done studies on this. Basically, when police wear cameras, complaints drop like 75%. They go down to rock bottom. Cases are better. Police don't have to work as hard. Their testimony is more valid in court because you've got video to back it up right there. It's a win-win for both people, for both them and for us. So that's a big deal for me, guys. I'm kind of getting tired here in this commentary. I've been going for a little bit. I'm at like the 45-minute mark now, minus what I've edited out. Guys, I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. And if I were running for president, I hope that you would vote for me. Drifter out.